artistry. Scholars to astronomers, philosophers to astrologers, gurus to shishyas, warriors to brave women. The list of India's rich past goes on and on. So, without wasting any time, I would like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Anil Bhaskar. He is a business executive with over 20 years of international experience in scaling growth of technology firms. He has worked in management roles, providing consultative and advisory services to Fortune 500 corporation and industry leaders across several verticals in US, Europe, and Asia. He has established many industries, first like security, early adopters of new uh, technologies, developing nascent markets, and deploying first-in-class solutions that have led to setting records and creating innovative business trends over his career span. With a background in electronics and telecommunication engineering, he also has professional training and applied skills in photovoltaic system design, strategic and solution sales methodology, project management, and distribution center operations, and whatnot. Currently, he is based at New Jersey, USA. His interests include composing music, reading, creative writing, and cooking. I request all the students to kindly take benefit from today's talk and stay tuned. We have an exciting announcement by Team Pracheta. By not wasting much time, I would like to invite Mr. Anil Bhaskar. The stage is yours, sir. Thank you very much.
Very good. I'll just do a sound check. Everyone can listen to me properly.
Yes, sir. You are completely audible.
Thank you. So I'm very happy and I'm very honored to be here among what I will call you as sadhus. You're familiar with the term sadhu. Many people think sadhu is something like religious connotation, but sadhu has another uh, meaning. And sadhu meaning is someone who is a studious person, someone who is a student of uh, life and ongoing. And especially, of course, IITians need no introduction, especially in India, what to speak of the world. It's a premier institute and been for several years the premier institute of technology. So I consider all of you sadhus. And in the Vedic culture, there is a saying, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra kahe, lavamatra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi prapta hoy. In Sanskrit, what this means that a moment's association with a scholar, everything that a person needs to know, everything positive, everything beneficial, you get to know. So that's why I feel very fortunate and I feel blessed to be in company of all you scholars. IIT itself, to get into IIT, is no small task. Your effort that you have put in, all of you, the competitive exams that you have gone through, just shows your caliber and your mettle. And I'm expecting to learn from you. We keep this as an interactive session. Expect to learn from you as much as what I would share about India. For most of you, you may already be familiar, so it will be a type of a revision, as well as share my life experiences as an Indian who has been abroad, possibly, I dare say, for more years now than what probably your lifetime on earth. Been there for now 26, 27 years abroad, traveled all over the world. So what it means to be an Indian on the global stage. That's what we'll cover. So what I'll do now is I've made a small presentation. I'm going to share that presentation. I'll need someone to verify whether you're able to see the presentation. Is this in proper order?
Yes, sir. It is completely visible.
Thank you. So the theme is today, My Glorious India. Okay, so thank you very much, PGAC. Sitara, a quick question. What does the acronym Sitara stand for?
So, so it stands for Center for Technology Alternatives for Rural Areas.
Alternatives. So alternative technology like solar and geothermal.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. So,
I do have some background, and many years back, I think in 2018 or 17, I attended a certificate program organized by NREL USA and IIT Mumbai in Hawaii on solar resource assessments. So yeah,
so it would be great to connect you then.
yes, it was quite some time back, and different people from all over India, from the government, from MSEB, had attended. Very good. Thank you for
Thank you.
letting me know what this Center of uh, Sitara stands for. And of course, Pracheta, I looked up on the website, doing very good work. So, we'll get into the presentation. Uh, you must have heard this tagline, Incredible India. Incredible, what it means is something which is, uh, to use the colloquial, mind-blowing. And why it is so, we will cover in the next 10, 15 slides. First, we'll cover what are the basic facts, our history, geography, philosophy. All of us learned this in primary, middle school, secondary school. And the philosophy, all of us have lived it. Whatever part of India we may be, we know this. And the general theme, the common theme that runs through all places, unity and diversity. A little bit about myself, over and above the introduction that Arishi gave you, is my father is from South India. He's a Saraswat from Karnataka, which is in South India. My mother is a refugee from Pakistan. In 47, there was the partition. She's a Punjabi from Pakistan, so that's all the way north. I was born in Guwahati, Assam, all the way in the east, and I was raised in Mumbai, which is all the way in the west. So in the 80s, there was a song on TV they would play called Mile Sura Hamara Tumhara. So I like to identify myself as this, other than my professional credentials. India as Mile Sura Mera Tumhara. And this unity and diversity is what we talk about. Then what are the contributions Indians have made to mankind? This is from pre-civilization. When I talk about pre-civilization is pre hello, I'm sorry. Pre-civilization, I'm talking about is before the world got civilized through contemporary times, modern times as today. 2, 3 years back, uh, ISRO had the world record in sending a payload of satellites up in space. And not only was the volume, but also the costs in which they were able to accomplish this. So, what are the different contributions India and Indians have made to mankind? And then finally, what it means to be an Indian, correct? A Desi abroad. I'm a Desi. When I migrated to the US, this was sometime in the early mid 90s. And at that time, you look for a home, trying to buy the house and etc. You're doing the research, school districts, etc. And a person, another colleague of mine who's also from Indian, he says, "अरे वो जगह में लेने का नहीं, वहाँ सब देसी लोग रहते हैं." And I was a little offended by that. What do you mean, udhar sab desi log rehte hain? I'm a desi, and I'm a proud desi. We'll talk about this a little bit more later on. And then being an Indian abroad, working in different countries, interacting with people of different culture, both on a professional and a personal level. What lessons have I learned, and what knowledge, what values was I able to share with them, not just on commercial basis, but also on an interpersonal relationship, how that panned out. And of course, question and answers. Though question and answers is kept here for the last, I will really appreciate it if this becomes an interactive question. So if you have a question, if you have a thought, if you have a comment, please interject. It'll be great to hear from you also. So let's start with the history of India. Again, this will be a revision for most of you. It's the oldest civilization. What we know dates back as 2500 before Christ era, the Indus Valley civilization, Harappa. You know that, right? Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. It flourished when others were just nomadic dwellers, moving from place to place in search of food. So, what you talk about civilization, what you talk about culture, it still hadn't dawned on the rest of the world where Harappans even had toilet and flush systems that advanced than the Indus Valley civilization was. Now, if you read the Vedas, people generally think there is a misconception that the Vedas are the Hindu, quote unquote, Hindu scriptures. Actually, the Veda talks about matter and material sciences. Over 90 or 95% of the content of the four Vedas is related to matter and material sciences, and just about 4 or 5% is related to a spirit and the spiritual sciences. Yet people think it's Hindu. In fact, in the Vedas, there's not a single word called Hindu. Hindu is a misnomer. Hindu is actually a word which was coined by the Persian invaders who used to come from the northwest frontier in India, because India was a rich country. They used to invade it. And people who used to live on the other side of the Sindh, the culture and the tradition that they had, they couldn't say sh. So in their language, it was Shindu. That Shindu became Hindu. And that's how the whole connotation came as Hindus, correct? So this Vedic civilization, if you read the Vedas, it talks about time scales, both at the infinitesimal level as well as at the macro level, which is mind-boggling. So that civilization dates even beyond Indus Valley civilization. And of course, when the Britishers came, they said all these things are mythology, but there is proof which science today is discovering. What I'm talking about is contemporary science today is discovering. We will also cover this in the further slides. World's first university, Takshila, 700 BC. Nalanda, 4th century. People from all over the world came, like you in IIT. People from all over India come to IIT. There are a few foreign exchange students also over there. All over India, you come. But India is literally like a uh, several countries in one. Every 100 miles or 150 miles, you see customs, traditions, dress, language, dialects, cuisine, food, everything changes. But here, even people from outside India, they were coming to Takshila and Nalanda, and over 60 subjects like anatomy, embryology, what happens from the time of conception when the male cell unites with the fertilizers with the female cell, and what happens step by step. Today in gynecology, they have only discovered this a few decades, maybe 100 years. Embryology, metabolism, genetics. So it is fantastic, the level of knowledge. I'm sorry, there's someone whose speaker is on. If you could please turn it off unless you have a question or comment. Thank you. So this is what India was when rest of the world was still trying to find its feet and figure out things. It was already sharing its knowledge with the world. Then let's look at our geography. We know that it is the seventh largest country. Here are some stats which you can see. It is about 3.27 million kilometers. It has a vast coastline. It has this land frontier. We know the Himalayan range offers both a natural barrier from hostile forces as well as the rivers that fertilize makes a land so fertile. Up on the north, we have deserts. Down south, you have a lush, verdant. If you see Kerala, God's own country. I don't know how many of you are from Kerala. How many of you have visited Kerala? The greenery is awesome, and if you do it, take a train journey on the right side from Mangalore, where I studied. You take a train. On the right side is the sea face when you're going to Kerala, and on the left side is total greenery. It's just like you feel that you're not in this world. So this is what our physical attributes of India is. 28 states, there are 22 official language. I myself am conversant and familiar with 6, 7 languages, including English. So I can greet you, Ken Cho, Jai Shri Krishna, Ken Cho, Gujarati, Namaskara, Danikule, Inchuller, Tudu, where I studied in Dakshina Kannada, Punjabi, Sat Sri Akal Paji Ki Gal Hai. So you see, this is, and there's no extra effort. This is just the environment in which we were raised with. Konkani, my own mother tongue. There are over almost 20,000 mother tongues and dialects in one country. There's no country in the world which has this level of diversity. 22 official languages, official, and over 19,500 dialects. Think about that. Just think about that. Isn't this something which is mind blowing? There are so many people whom I've met. They just speak maybe one language, at most two, and they consider you to be a genius if you speak 3 or more languages. How many of us Indians know I'm comfortable with 3 and more languages? So this is on the geography only. And finally, our population, 1.3, almost 4 billion people. Now, some think that this is a setback, but I, being the optimist, look at it as opportunity. The world's largest number of graduates passing out every year, the world's largest English speaking population, the world's largest buying power, the middle class, the buying power. So if you look at this, the Indians that you have, the cultures that I was talking to you about, cuisines, both indigenous and foreign. What has India done? India has always been accepting. We call her Mother India. Why Mother India? Mother is always accepting. When we are little children, the mother accepts us even when we soil her. She's carrying us, she's feeding us, we soil ourselves. Never mind. She's always accepting. And this is what India has done, even with aggressors as well as those who come in peace. People know the story of those of the Zoroastrian faith from Persia, correct? They were persecuted over there. They fled and they came to Gujarat. The king happily accepted them. Which other culture accepts? In fact, you can see history has recorded how cultures, people, countries, they go out, they invade, they conquer, and they completely decimate that culture. Case in point being Latin America. The Latin America, there was something called the Mayan civilization. Nothing is left of Mayan civilization, no trace. Whereas India, even though we were invaded by so many foreign powers, we accepted and took the best of that and assimilated in our lifestyle, be it Mughal, be it the recent British, and so many, Alexander the Great, he came and attacked. So 1.4 billion people, what a size and what variety from different races, the Dravids in the south to the fair-skinned Caucasians, the Aryans, what you call in the north. What a variety that we have. This is another case in point of incredible India. Then look at our philosophy. Having all this, what is our philosophy? There is a saying, Mera Bharat Mahan. You know, when we were in college, when I was probably your age, uh, in my second or third semester, of course, some of you here are postgraduate and PhD students, some of you may be the BTech students. So in the second or third semester, we had this where we used to debate, and we used to take, kind of controversial topics and debate that just to bounce ideas and see how others see things. So one colleague, classmate, has said, "Khane ko nahi roti, पहनने को नहीं कपड़ा, रहने को नहीं मकान, फिर भी कहते फिरते हो कि मेरा भारत महान. Basically the poverty and what this means. I hope you can understand Hindi, the official national language, but if not, I'll translate, meaning that if you don't have food to eat, you don't have clothes to wear, you don't have a place to stay, let you go about saying that Mera Bharat Mahan. Uh, but here's why Mera Bharat Mahan, in spite of all these things. Peaceful. In our entire history, we've never invaded another country. The gentle giant, the elephant. However, when aggression comes, we know how to answer. You know what happened with Kargil. We know what happened with Urvi. We've never attacked anyone. We've never occupied anyone. Bangladesh, we liberated, we didn't occupy, and we gave them, here, this is your country. You run it. Okay? Dignity. Only society which has not endorsed slavery. When civilization came about, the Roman civilization, Greeks, Egypt, so many civilizations, all of them had a policy of slavery. Never was slavery ever through the entire history. We take from Ashoka, Chandragupta Maurya, go as far back as you know, was slavery a policy? Dignity of mankind, tolerance, acceptance of races and ethnicities. As I explained to you, not just the Parsis who came, so many, the Arabs came, people from the African continent came, Chinese came, always acceptance, correct? Pluralism. And then finally, unity. And amongst all this, the common thread which runs is unity. Mile sur hamara tumhara, sur bane hamara. It's not my way or the highway, how everyone assimilates. So that's the beauty of India. Then let's look at quickly some contributions. Astronomy, Surya Siddhanta, correct? Now the Surya Siddhanta, 3000 BC, 1000 BC, 3000 BC, through recital, Shabda Praman, through hearing. They calculated Earth's diameter, 7,840 miles. Now we know more precisely a few hundred miles. Distance to the moon, correct? Distance to the sun. And here we are talking thousands of years ago. What we have only discovered, I would say recently, when you look at that time scale. Okay, Bhaskaracharya, the great astronomer, described gravity 1200 years. I'm sorry, there's a typo. 1200 years before Isaac Newton. Everyone knows the story. Apple fell on his head and he thought about gravity. But this was discovered and noted. There were notations. This is not just hearsay. This is not just folklore. He calculated the time the sun takes, correct, to orbit the sun. The earth takes to orbit the sun. The art of navigation, in fact, navigation comes from the Sanskrit word navagati. Navagati, nav is the boat. Navy is also derived from the word nav, boat, the word boat. Okay, then look at this. Thousands years before Copernicus, revolution of Earth, correct? It was discovered. Where? India. Just as a person traveling in a boat feels that the trees on the banks are moving, people on Earth feel that the sun is moving. Aryabhatta. And Aryabhattim, he stated our Earth is round. The Western school of thought was the Earth is flat. You go to the edge, you travel far enough, you'll fall off. What do you fall off into? You don't know. Whereas in the Vedas, it's given about the planetary systems, not just this planetary systems, but other planetary systems, above and beyond what we know of our solar system, above, below. It's explained over there. However, it was a discredit with the occupiers who said that this is mythology, and being indoctrinated over years through the schooling system, we believe these things to be mythology and just hearsay of folklore. But when you read the text and you see that, it's amazing what modern science is saying now has been said years ago. Okay. This law of gravity, as I told you, 100 years before science. Then objects, gravity, theory of gravity, correct? Heliocentric. Western school of thought that the Earth is the center of the universe. No, Aryabhatta said it's the sun is the center, and all our planets are rotating around the sun. Atomic physics. I don't know how many physics students are here. That's one of my favorite subjects. Physics is the mother of all science. From physics comes chemistry, comes biology, the ecology, and so on and so forth. Everything happens over here. Then at the atomic level, quantum physics. So he stated about atoms. He stated about atoms. Today we learn about fundamental particles. Correct? Quantum physics, whoever learns knows that it is really mind-bending. Werner Heisenberg, the Heisenberg principle of uncertainty. What he says after conversations about Indian philosophy, some ideas of quantum physics that seemed crazy make sense. And these are all related to the Vedic culture and civilization, what the ancient sadhus, sages, knew. Earlier, they used to share it through speech and memory, hearing and memorizing. Then later on, 1,000, 5,000 years ago, they started writing. Medical science, Shushrut, Maharishi Shushrut, plastic surgery, over 125 surgical equipments were used. Ayurveda is the earliest school of medicine known to human beings. There are so many different. There's now allopathy. Allopathy, you all know, you take any medicine, any tablet for your blood pressure, diabetes, whatever it be. There's always a side effect, always. It cures something, it creates some other problem. Ayurveda has no side effect. It's not symptomatic cure, it is the cause. It goes to the root cause and does it, right? Mathematics. Math is the language of science. Poetry is the language of the soul. Math and music is the language of the soul. Mathematics is the language of all sciences, the bedrock, correct? This is what Indians have done related to mathematics. Arithmetic and geometric progression. And there are different discoveries which happen 1,000, 400, 500 years later. But this was already known. I love this one. Today, everything runs on computers. Everything. When I started my career, I started with hardware. And we had something called PC XT, PC 80, and there was PC. And they had these big floppy drives. And 640 KB RAM was the limitation. Today, computers, the cell phone you have in your hand is more powerful than the computer, which was controlling the rocket and the communications that went to the moon. How is all that possible? Because India invented the concept of zero, without which there is no binary systems. If you know basic computers, you know there's one and zero. So the earliest recorded date is 586. Just think about it. This zero, what zero means. And then if you get into the scriptural sciences, it says what this zero, something which has no value, how it becomes value if you put one in front of it. So these are the things which, again, is mind boggling. Things which we take it every day for granted. But if you just stop and think, it has tremendous implications, what India's contribution to the world. Then in contemporary time, it's too much to get into, there's not enough time available. But look at all these areas from administration, metallurgy, genetics, space, linguistics, language. Sanskrit is recognized to be the most perfect language in the world. Meteorology, textiles. See the broad scope of what we're doing. We spoke about computers, how everything is dependent on computers. Google, who's running Google? Who's driving Google? An IIT alumni, an Indian, Mr. Pichai, Sundar Pichai. Who's running Microsoft? One of the leading IT, a software firm in the world. An Indian. So if we see this, and across every field, there are so many contributions. Okay. Now, what it means to be an Indian. I'll share my experience, and I would love to hear from you also. A desi abroad. I was a young man when I left the shores. While leaving the shores, my boss, who was like an elder brother to me, it was a startup company doing IT services. He told me, Anil, my home place where I grew up is Mahim. If you're familiar with Mumbai, near Shivaji Park. He says, Anil, they're taking the young man out of Mahim. Don't ever let them take Mahim out of you. And that remained with me, a conscious effort. Some of you may say that, oh, you're living abroad. May I have this question. Either you'll ask it or you may not ask it. I've been asked this question. You've been living abroad. Why is it you have such love and patriotism and whatever you call it, label you give it for India? I have a couple of answers for that. Number one is, you see in traditions, when a woman gets married, she leaves her husband's house, she leaves her father's house, and then she moves into a new environment to her husband's house. And her foundational skills and her foundational behavior and everything else, the core of who she is put to good use into where she goes. So though I'm male body, I feel like a bride raised in India and now living abroad. Then do my skill sets help my country? I'm a US citizen now. Sure, it does. But it also helps India. My work is such that we have the projects that we do, we outsource it, which has many Indians gainfully employed, several hundreds, and cumulatively it will run into thousands. The generating employment and economy, the experience, bringing Indians onto the global stage. So that's what I see myself as. I'm an Indian American. I'm an Indian American. So Desi abroad, what does it mean? Going there, first thing is my identity and self-worth. The British ruled us and they put something, there is, in the colloquial, they say, Gora Chamdi hang up. Meaning to say white-skinned, somehow or the other, it is considered to be superior. No. Being an Indian and knowing about India and having the good fortune of being across a variety of places in India, I know who I am and where I'm coming from. And that is my anchor. Of course, they say when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I'll give you a very quick real life experience. One of our consultants came there. He was a Tamil Brahmin from Chennai. And he used to come to work to our office in Steeps, with the religious marking, the ash that they put on the Shivites. Very religious, no smoking, no drinking, no meat eating, brilliant mind. He came there, and in a couple of months, he started eating beef. Now, personally, I do not have any say on a person's personal choice. It doesn't matter. It's your choice. Okay. However, and I asked him, hey, why are you doing this? What's making you give this up? He says, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So I asked him a question. He had a 2-3-year-old daughter. I said, the culture here is that by the time the girl is about 13, 14, If she doesn't have a boyfriend, it's considered something abnormal with her. And teen pregnancy is pretty much the norm. Are you okay with it? He didn't have an answer. So the identity and self-worth of what we have within us in these formative years and living over here, that gives you an anchor. And you could go on any world stage, no matter which continent, no matter which place. Okay. The value systems that we are taught over here. Arshi, when she introduced me, of course, I'm older to you in age. Some of you are intellectually far superior than I am. But she called me sir. This is the culture that we have. In your building, in your personal relationships, your neighbor, if there's a senior person, we call them uncle and aunties. We don't call them by the first name. It's just how we all have been raised. So that value system, and that makes a huge difference when you're on the world stage. Lateral thinking, they call it jugaad in the Bombay Hindi, jugaad. Jugaad is basically fix or fix, problem solving, thinking out of the box. The grit, no matter what the odds, no matter what the adversities, you can get it done. I will get it done. This is what Mumbai, being a Mumbaikar, or what they used to say early days, Bombayite. And this is all over. Example, I was coming Bombay Pune highway. We stopped at the rest area, Nescafe, correct? My brother and I. So that young kid, maybe 14, 15 years, he says, "Ah, saab kya loge coffee?" So my brother-in-law said, "Kaisa hai?" He says, "Haan, bahut acha hai, sir." So he said, "Acha nahi hoega." He saying, "Arey saab, hum guarantee dete hai." He made those two coffees, you know, that instant coffee where you have powder and hot water and milk. It comes through the machine, through that nozzle. And he gave both. And my brother-in-law, just to pull his leg, he says, "Nahi yaar, theek nahi bana hai." So he says, "Problem kya hai, saab?" He says, "Yaar, ye bahut theeka hai, meko strong chahiye." Now it's just a machine. He presses these buttons. This 14, 15-year-old kid, what he does is he takes a 1 rupee coin, opens a plastic screw from the side, and he takes out a spoon of coffee and he mixes it in my brother-in-law's cup. And I was amazed to see this because this kid knows that he has to replenish the milk, he has to replenish the sugar, he has to replenish the coffee powder. And this is how it works. It is closed from top. The supervisor comes. He figured out that this particular button on the side, the screw, this is what is called thinking out of the box. He solved the customer's problem. It really wasn't a problem. Now, the same thing, to try it out, I went to McDonald's and I asked a kid, again, these are their high school kids. They have these softies, which is both the chocolate and the vanilla flavor. It swirls and comes out. I said, "Can you give me only vanilla?" He just looked at me blank stare. So this is what lateral thinking. Your value today in the world is what problems you can solve. The education we have is to make ourselves and the world a better place. Problem solving skills, global recognitions. Indians are known as brain power. They say there is a brain drain. I don't think there's a brain drain. Because if you see whatever, at least in my case, it was always coming back to India. And the common person, the level of intellect, this lateral thinking, out of the box thinking is phenomenal. Working smart. And most importantly, a general statement, Indians come with a lot of integrity. They're hassle free. If I know that there are these people working, now there are certain people from certain countries, you need to be a little careful. They kind of shirk, they do all these shortcuts and try to get away with stuff. Not Indians. And this is known on the world stage. So you go, you enter into a meeting, you enter into a contract, you enter into discussions, negotiations. That level of confidence and trust is already there. Why? Because I am an Indian. Finally, what lessons I've learned? Number one, always be learning. You will get your degrees, you will get your PhDs, which will help open many doors of opportunities for you. But learning doesn't stop, or learning isn't confined to the walls of academia. Curiosity is what matters. Always be curious. If you have curiosity, you get knowledge. And knowledge, when it is put into practice, gives you realization. I might ask you, do you know what is Madgane? You may not know, some of you may know, some of you may not know. Madgane, I can tell you, is something which is like payasam, made out of coconut, rice flour. It's a sweet dish. Now you have some knowledge about Madgane, but until and unless you don't do the act of eating Madgane, you really don't know what is Madgane. So knowledge, if it is not put to use, is simply useless information cluttering the mind. Realization is very important. Knowledge you can forget, realizations you don't forget. And from realizations come wisdom, and wisdom has value. Today is the information age. People are doing big data. They're trying to see trends, patterns, forecast. But this wisdom is not only knowing what to do, what not to do, when, how, where, why. It answers all these questions. And that has value. Our academic qualifications have initial value. It's just opening gates, opening the door. It's a competitive differentiator. But after that, it's an always, the day you stop learning is then when that knowledge becomes a heavy weight and it starts making your intellect blunt. It's no longer sharp. And why do we do all this? Finally, we want to be happy. We want to make those who are ours happy. And if you have this wisdom, you'll come to know who you are beyond this physical self, beyond these designations of MTech, BTech, PhD, executive, CEO, this, that, whatever, Indian, American, whatever it is. Know thyself, who you really are. And once you have this wisdom, you know who you are. Two things. You'll realize happiness. This is what I've realized. Happiness lies not in what all you have. When I came, I bought a second-hand car within my first month. Within my first year, made a lot of money. Within the first 2-3 years, made a lot of money. Indians, incidentally, are on the top 2.5 percentile of affluence and influence in the US as a ethnic group. So you have all that, you buy a luxury car, this, that, and travel around the world, jet set exec, all that thing is great. But that level of satisfaction is temporary. Happiness lies not on what all you have. It's a function of what all you can do without. I come here, currently I'm in Pune. If I see over here the roads, uh, it's dirty. The Pune traffic is chaotic. It's systematized over there. People don't just change lanes arbitrarily or come from the wrong side. It's very clean. Getting stuff done is, you could literally sit on your cell phone and get everything done. Here it is a little bit of a challenge. But if I get so used to that, it will make me a cripple when I come to India. Believe me, I drive. I get an international driver's permit and I drive in India. It always amazes my wife. She says, how could you do this? Adaptability. That's who Indians are. We can adapt. So understand this, happiness lies not in what all you have. It's a function of what you can do without. So here we come to the question answer session. And these are some of my favorite quotes. A Vedic scholar, Srila Prabhupada, questions are a symptom of intelligence. There's no such thing as a silly or a stupid question. The stupid question is that which isn't asked and remains in the mind because we feel, oh, if we ask, especially in a group, if I ask a question, will it make me look silly? Will it be too obvious, the answer? No, every question has value. Then my father, who was a classical Shastriya Sangeet musician, of course, his professional life, he was the marketing manager at Chia Tires, one of the first pioneers of introducing electronics in India in the 60s. He had taught us this: question everything because everything can be questioned, but always do so with a humility to know more for the betterment of yourself and others. If you go with arrogance, then your mind is already closed. In my daughter's class in her third grade, there was a wonderful poster: mind is like a parachute that works best when it is open. So when we question, it shows that we have intellect and our mind is open. Arrogance, how can it be like this? Closes it. Finally, a colleague of mine in the US, he's the ops manager also for a cultural center there. Information ought to lead to transformation, otherwise, of what use is it? If that information doesn't bring about transformation, it's just useless cluttering my mind. So if anyone has any questions, I'd love to hear from you and your experiences and your uh, opinions on what it means to be an Indian.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to ask participants, please ask a few questions and contribute, please.
No questions?
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. I have one question. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes,
Sir?
I can hear you. What is your name?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Sir, my name is Pawan Muttepawar. I am just a MTech student of IIT Bombay, and I have one. I can say that thank you very much for such informative session. And I really didn't know a lot many things whatever you have said today. And I think maybe because we have not read it or we have not inquired about it, eh, all the siddhantas and shastras whatever are there. So you said like great about the greatness of India, but on the other side I have question, not really a question, but a concern that people in India now are following the Western culture or not following our culture, not respecting our culture. And many of the people are, most of the people are behind money and becoming selfish. And patriotism is going very far. I am feeling like that because even if it was a अगर हम it is a placement session, then maybe 200-300 people would have come, but it is on the India and glorious India. So I have really I'm worried about this ki, uh, how as a Indian citizen, what should be my role, and how I can contribute for betterment of the society, and to regain that culture again from the roots.
Very nice. Thank you for your question. And what you have hit the nail on the head that uh, the world, not just here in India, but the world, uh, there's good and bad also, is somehow losing its value systems, what I call. And some may say that this value system is changing according to time, place, circumstance. But there are certain values which are eternal, which are eternal. One of the most important skills to be successful in life is not your education, is not your technical skills, is not your intellectual abilities. It's people skills. People skills. And of course, they call this people skills as soft skills. HR calls it soft skills and all that. But how you could deal with a wide variety of people and circumstances is what makes you successful. So your question, which is that we are losing our foundation, so to say, then it becomes something like dhobi ka kutta na ghar ka na ghat ka. You don't know whether it is the West, you don't know whether it is you are Indian. My experience, I'll tell you, when we went to the US, my son was 2 years old, and a few years later, my daughter was born. We raised them up to be more Indian than their cousins living in India. So, of course, because of our faith, you may be belonging to whatever faith. I've had the good fortune to have exposure to Hinduism, Sikhism, Islam, and Christianity. I'm very intimate with these faiths. I've read their scriptures. I've spoken to the religious leaders in that. I've had questions. They've cleared my doubts. I've had friends growing up. So that became the basis. So my children know all the vidhi. They were raised in that environment. They were raised in that environment. And as I told you, it helps give you an identity of who you are. There is a saying in the US, the Indian kids are called ABCD, American born confused desi. उसको पता नहीं कि मैं देसी हूँ या मैं American हूँ. Because when you go out in school, your peer pressure is tremendous. Now you look at this, I'm wearing a jacket. It's a Western cloth, a Western dress style. Most of us wear pants and shirts. These are Western. Now, if you look at different regions in India, it will either be a lungi, which I find most comfortable, and a kurta, or it could be pajamas, whatever it be, a Pathan suit, whatever it be. But we don't wear that. Why? Because today it has become standardized world over. It has brought a level of standardization. But if there is a function, an award ceremony or something, I wear my dhoti kurta, I wear dhoti, I wear kurta, I wear my tilak. So it comes down to Pawan on you, the choices you make. There was, these jellyfish gets washed off on the shore. And there was a small boy who was picking up each millions of jellyfishes. He was picking up each jellyfish and throwing it back in the water because it comes on the shore without water, it will die. So he was throwing it back. And there was another man who was observing him for a long time. So he went to this kid and he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm throwing the jellyfish back in the water so that it can live again." So he says, "What's the big difference? There are millions of them over here. Can you do all?" He said, "No, I can't change all. But to that one little jellyfish which I threw there, it made all the difference." So if we want to make a difference, Mahatma Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." John F. Kennedy says, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for the country." It's very easy to blame others. So it will start with each one of us. And वो बोलते हैं बूंद बूंद से सागर बनते हैं. Each one of us. And when like-minded people get together, when people come together, things happen. I was reading yesterday on WhatsApp, someone sent me, there's this young 27-year-old boy, an engineering student, passed out, got his job. There was so much dirt outside his house, a Mumbai kid. You know how garbage, it's not only overflowing. Now, people are saying that it's a municipal's job. We pay our taxes. These guys are all only eating bribe, doing this, that, and all the problems we all know and we experience and get frustrated with. He didn't sit in the armchair and just blame and curse everyone. He didn't say, "I'm right. Those guys are wrong. They're not doing their job." He put on his gloves, took a bag, and used to carry all that kachara. And slowly and surely, other kids also saw this around. And that entire street was cleaned up. So it comes to us. Take the best of cultures. Do not criticize any other culture. Do not criticize any other faith. There's a lot of commonality. There's a lot of value sharing which happens. What I've shared about India, please do not think you are great because you're Indian. The purpose of this presentation is to be grateful you are Indian. Great becomes an arrogance, and arrogance shuts all learning. So my response to you, my dear friend Pawan, is be the change. And your actions will speak louder than the words and intentions, and others will be attracted to it. Small way, doesn't matter. It will make a world of difference. Is that good?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Any other question, or we can bring it to a close?
Thank you, sir. So there is one question in the chat box.
Yes,
So can I read?
please.
Yeah, it's from Rutuja Deo. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. How spiritual thinking helped you in career growth?
How spiritual thinking helped me in career
Career
growth?
growth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm reading it here. Thanks, Rutuja, for your question. Uh, Spiritual helped me understand who I am. I was like a typical teenager, then a young man. Uh, I had this dream, I had this ambition कि जिंदगी में कुछ हासिल करने के. Education systems teach us to be not happy, but to be wealthy. Whether you're doing engineering, whether you're doing MBA, whether you're doing a job, whatever you're doing, it is to be wealthy. And we think wealth helps us acquire things that make us happy. Whether it be your car, when I was there, I'll give you my life trajectory. As a young man, I used to travel by buses and local trains. You all are from Mumbai, I'm presuming you know what Mumbai's local trains are. It's like a free body massage. So I said, yeah, now I need to have a bike. So I saved money and I bought a second-hand bike. And I was the king of the world with my second-hand bike. And my wife, who's my childhood sweetheart, we used to date. She and I used to go all over Bombay, whizzing on the bike here and there. You know that hero panti bolte hain. Then after the bike, I said, now we need a car. So then I was thinking of buying a second-hand car in Mumbai itself. And it so happened that I migrated overseas. We had a startup company. Then I went there to help set up operations there. Reached over there, bought a car, a Honda Civic second-hand car. And like all good Indians, you take a photo of your car and send it to your family and all that. I thought, kuch hasil kar liya. Then after the car came the Honda car. I said, Arey, now the second hand is, we should get a new car. So I bought a little bigger car, a Honda Accord. So I got the Honda Accord. The new car smell lasts a couple of months, and then that satisfaction goes away. So similarly in your career, one milestone after another, one milestone after another, you keep doing it. It gives you temporary pleasure, and then again you're after chasing the next goal, chasing the next goal. That car became a minivan. It gets to luxury car, ye, wo, house, whatever you talk about. More and more and more. And the more you're accumulating, the less you're seeing that time span of being satisfied with. So finally, I was very fortunate I always was very inquisitive. I had this question, who am I? Who is God? Ye, wo. I was raised in a Hindu faith, studied in a Catholic school, was very familiar with Islam, had friends who are childhood dear friends who are Muslims. Uh, I used to go to the Gurdwara with my grandmother. So I didn't have this answer. Who am I really? I thought there's something more than I am. And when I was in engineering school, before my 20, 20th birthday, yeah, on my 20th birthday, somehow in the night, next day was my 20th birthday, somehow in the night, I got this feeling that I'm going to die. I got this feeling I'm going to die. And that really scared me in a, new place and no one around, just my roommate was there. I didn't know what to do. And when I was going to the dorm, my mother had packed Swami Vivekananda's Bhagavad Gita with me. I never opened it. 2, 3 semesters, I didn't open it. It was lying there on the shelf only. I was really not religious or whatever you say. So I just opened it. And fortunately, it so happened, Providence, I opened it at the second chapter. It talks about you're not the body, you're the soul. And it made so much sense to me. It made so much sense to me that I started reading it. And then this fear that I had of death. And from there, it started about a journey of self-realization. And then I came in contact with the folks at ISKCON and then did my spiritual practices. And I've had great successes by any standard. And I've had great failures, epic failures. But through it all, the mental equilibrium has remained. So this is how my spiritual thinking has helped me in my career. It has helped me look at win-win outcomes. Because in my spirituality, it teaches who I am, who the other person is. These are my teachings, and my practice is more important, not just that I told you realizations. So overall, it has made me a better professional. It has made me a better husband. It has made me a better father, a friend, a better citizen. And whatever be your faith, whatever be your calling, doesn't matter. These are just designations: Hindu, Muslim, Christian. I'm not getting into faith. I'm not getting into that. But there's something beyond matter and material sciences called the spiritual sciences. Ask yourself this simple question: who am I? And seriously look for that answers, and it will help you study better. It will help you do better, because it opens up your mind to dimensions which so far we've either ignored or have been blissfully ignorant about. Does that answer your question, Rutuja?
Yes.
Okay. So my last request to you, everybody, today is a very important day. You're all familiar with this national anthem. I will humbly request all of you to unmute and let us all stand as a sign of our respect. Actually, that's the etiquette, what you do. Incidentally, whenever the national anthem plays, even if I'm in the US sitting watching Olympics or whatever, and the flag goes up, Neeraj Arora, golden medal, he got the gold medal. I always make it a point to stand, and we should always make it a point to stand. This is our respect for our mother, Bharat Mata. So I'll request you all to stand, and we can all sing together. Incidentally, our national anthem, UN has awarded it the best anthem in the world. The music, the meter, and all that. Okay, so let's all stand. You could unmute and join me. Janagana mana adhinayaka jaya he Bharat Bhata. Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravid, Utkal, Banga, Vindhya, Himachal, Yamuna, Ganga, Uchala, Jala, Tava Shubha Name Jage, Tava Shubha Shimate, Gaye Tava Jaya Gatha. Jana Gana Mangaladayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata. Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya Jaya He. Bharat Mata ki Jai. Bharat Mata ki Jai. Mata ki
Yay.
Thank you, everybody. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. On the behalf of the entire IIT Bombay Institute, I would like to thank you for a wonderful presentation and enlightening words. Today, we saw India in a different perspective with a new lens. Thank you very much, sir. I would also like to show my gratitude towards PGAC, Sitara Student Council, as well as the team Prachata, and special thanks to DGSec of Sitara, Pawan, for the smooth functioning of the event in this short period of time. You have made the best arrangements for this program. Thank you very much. And I would like to request Prachata team for some announcements. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arshi. So I have some few announcements. So before moving ahead, I would like to thanks Anil sir. It was really mind-blowing session, and we can say this is the true celebration of Independence Day. Thank you very much. And also about Pracheta, just would like to give you a short introduction. So Pracheta is NGO, a non-profit initiative group, which is founded by a group of professors and some alumni from different colleges. And we conduct different technical and non-technical seminars for students. So you can all please visit our website, pracheta.in. So I request admin to please share the website in the chat box. And we conduct different technical and non-technical seminars for students. So our upcoming seminar is Discover Yourself, which is one of really interesting personality development course. I request everyone, please, if possible, if you want to attend this course, please register for this course. I request admin again to please share the registration link in the chat to everyone. And at the end, I would like to thank IIT Bombay, especially General Secretary of Academic Affairs, Krishna Raj, also Institute Master Representative Shreya Bari, and last but not the least, Departmental GSEC, Arshi, for without you, this program was really not possible. Thank you very much for this wonderful collaboration with Pracheta. And we look ahead for such more programs. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending the course. Thank you very much. And this is the link for feedback forms. I request all participants to please give your feedbacks so that we can improve next time. So thank you, everyone. Now we end our program here. Thank you so much, Anil sir, once again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vande Mataram.